Yo, Elliot, a quick break, a quick breakthrough I would like to share is that I am finally able to detach from my emotions and thoughts. I am able to be. And with this, I can shrug things off easier. Amazing. Very good. Once again, our thoughts are where we're attacked. The battlefield for our souls is in our mind because Satan and his demons can manipulate what we think, what we see, what we hear. We decide whether or not we're going to allow it to manipulate us by whether or not we engage those thoughts and allow it to sink into an emotional level. And the reason why I say sink is because thoughts obviously are up here. Emotions happen in the body. So if the gatekeeper doesn't deal with those thoughts in an objective way, he begins to wrestle with those thoughts. And one thing for sure, and we know this from the story in the garden, do not engage with Satan at all. One of the first mistake that Eve made when approached by the serpent was she engaged in his conversation. He says to her, hey, what's up, Eve? And she goes, hey, Satan. The minute you engage with the thought, you're lost. It's a slippery slope because Satan is way smarter than you are. He's been at this way longer than you, me, or anybody who's been here. So he knows exactly what you need to hear. He knows exactly what you're thinking. He knows your weak points. He knows your red flags. And he is going to manipulate you in your own very special way. That's why a lot of times people are like thinking that their situation is unique. And I'm having my own unique problem. But everybody actually has the same problem. Anybody who's dealing with any of these kinds of problems that begin in the head, begin in our thoughts, because we're not being active gatekeepers, we're not being vigilant against negative thoughts, hey, we all have the same problem, which is you didn't take heed. You weren't vigilant against the whisperings in your head. Do not believe all your thoughts. Be discerning about your thoughts. And be very cautious about allowing yourself to become emotionally invested with those thoughts. Because the minute it becomes emotional, it makes its way into your body. And the body is the root of the subconscious. And then it becomes very irrational. And that's why many times we can find ourselves making bad decisions, irrational decisions, choices, or even sometimes we know we're being irrational, right? We're like, I just can't help it, but I'm angry, right? I wish I could detach from this feeling. Well, detach from the thought first. Don't let the feeling grab hold of you, because it's a lot harder to reconcile the feeling than it is the thought. And it goes both ways too, because sometimes we have a feeling that affects our thoughts. So when the feeling comes, once again, don't engage. Meaning, don't give it context, right? Don't provide excuses for the feeling or even try to explain the feeling. Notice the feeling. And this is the essence of being a king. I'm happy that Jazz says that I am able to be. And with this, I can shrug things off easier. So because our world is so mental centric, feeling centric, and sensation centric, right? Meaning the three lower aspects of what make us human are what we allow to manipulate us. And what are those? Thoughts. Now hang with me for a moment. You got thoughts, you got feelings, and then you have sensation, or I'm going to call it sex sensation, right? The animal nature, the body, the part of the body that wants to lick and stick everything, if you know what I mean, right? Chick walks by, I want to lick her and stick her, right? Our libido, if you will, right? So you got 1, 2, 3, right? Three sets of, three areas, right? You got your set of eyes, right? Your eyes, your ears, your head. See no evil, hear no evil, right? Speak no evil. It's all up here. Then there's the heart. And the heart, it becomes a little bit more unconscious. And if you study like brain anatomy, you would call this part, or the part that's associated with this in rational thinking, the neocortex, right? It's the human brain, and what allows us to be discerning about our feelings and our instincts, right? Because then the third part is instincts. Then we have the limbic system. The limbic system is unique to mammals, not man, but mammals. The limbic system is where we have there's emotional content associated with it, right? Primates have there's emotional content associated with their community, right? Like They've done studies where they show that primates have a sense of loyalty and love, if you will, for their young. Unlike what? Reptiles. And reptiles, that's the reptilian part of the brain. That's the brainstem, the medulla oblongata. So moving back up the train once a second there, when it comes to the limbic system in the heart and these loving emotions, but also those emotions that can cause us to make bad decisions, it has so-called evolved, if you will, as a result of primates having eyes on the front of our head, right? Unlike reptiles, birds, right, which are kind of reptiles in a way, their eyes are on the side of their head. Even horses and such, right? The eyes are inside of the head. So what happens when you have eyes on the side of your head? You can see 360. So nobody has to have your back. But as primates that have a limbic system, the type of limbic system that we have that's associated with having eyes on the front of the head, it's required because we're more vulnerable without one another. So this is where tribal association becomes important. The way primates and humans would work in tandem to hunt or to protect is I'm looking this way, he's looking that way, and they're looking this way. So we need each other. So the limbic system has a lot more to do with oxytocin, right? Loving feelings, admiration, loyalty for others. And then the last of it, the least evolved of our brain is the one that's associated with fighting and fucking, right? And it's the reptilian brain. And that's 1, 2, 3. All three of those are powerful in and of themselves. There's good and there's bad, right? Depending on how it's being accessed through the fourth. The fourth is our spiritual nature, which is above our thoughts, it's above our feelings, and it's above our primal nature, our reptilian nature. When you superimpose these four modes of being, right? Thinking, feeling, doing, and being to the four quadrants of the psyche, according to Carl Jung, and then which was further expanded by Robert Moore, you have magician, thinking, feeling, lover, warrior, doing, and these two, I don't know, they can be swapped. But the whole point is that they all reside within. The king, right? Magician, lover, warrior. The king is above it all. And what the king represents in our mode of activity is the being aspect. Being does not think, and so you may ask yourself, and it's very interesting and very strange, right? And we've gone through these lessons many times, but I'm just sharing this here for you guys who, maybe not be privy or you're brand new. What we're aiming for is the being aspect, right? The king aspect. That's why it's up here, the crown. The king aspect, the being aspect is so mysterious, but if we just eliminate what it's not, we'll begin to know whether or not we're accessing our inner king. Are you thinking through things, right? Are you allowing the thoughts to be manipulated, right? Which can easily be manipulated by the things we watch, the things we hear, the things we say. Music, movies, media, other people, all these things can manipulate the thought. So it is not as powerful. You're not as sovereign when you live by your thoughts alone. It's not feeling. The king aspect is not associated with feeling, because once again, our feeling aspect is unconscious. And the king aspect is actually very conscious. It's the most objective and most conscious. The feeling aspect can be very easily manipulated. Well, of course, your feelings could be manipulated through fear, right? That's what this whole CV-19 thing is, right? It's like manipulate the people based on fear and allow them to make irrational decisions. Also, going deeper, when it comes to our feelings, according to attachment theory and polyvagal theory, all these theories of the mind and the biology of the mind and the workings of the mind and evolutionary biology, the feeling aspect can be manipulated from long gone events. One, for example, is what in attachment theory they say, We have something called mirror neurons, right, that are attached up here. Mirror neurons. And as a baby, it has been proposed that while looking up at your mother's face, the emotional content that's generally present within your mother's face is absorbed up top, mirrored, but then also based on the vagus nerve, descends down into the body. So the feelings that the mother carries are shared with the child. And so if your mom was a little angry, you might have some anger or fear in yourself, right? If your mother was aloof and non-caring, you may have some feeling of existential, annihilated feelings, right? That's the schizoid in character structure, right? This sense that, I need to hold it all together because, mom wasn't doing it for me. So we know it's not thinking, we know it's not feeling. We damn sure know that it's not doing anything, right? The king aspect is not a doing. The king aspect is a being. So it's not about this anxious activity that we often get ourselves engaged with that oftentimes looks like hamsters running on wheels. How many times have I personally got so engaged in doing that I forgot to access and consult my being aspect? Now, the being aspect is not those three things, but what is it? One thing, according to Robert Moore and the Neo-Jungian concept, and if you look at it through the symbols within Christian theology, the halo. And the halo represents divine access. It represents a conduit between our Creator, God the Father, if you will, and our being. And so what we want to do is we want to sit in that seat where we are accessing or sitting in that conduit where we can be led. And that's why a lot of times what I say to you guys when we have these issues and I don't have the answer for it, I say, allow yourself to be led. Allow God to take the wheel. In other words, don't reach for anything, allow it to come to you. Allow things to unfold to you or to be revealed to you. How many times have I said this, right? And in a way, it's mystical, it's strange, it's weird because we're taught, well, I need to think it through, or I need to feel about it, or I need to do something. When in actuality, if we access the power of our Creator, right? If we access the God head, we allow ourselves to be led, right? A lot to unpack there, a lot to think about it. So what Jazz is saying here through his breakthrough is that he's no longer a slave to his emotions and his thoughts. No longer allows them to manipulate him, right? And he allows himself to simply be. And he could just shrug things off easier. Does that mean be completely detached? No. It doesn't mean be uncaring or so objective that you don't engage. It means, sure, I have these thoughts. Sure, I have these feelings. Sure, I have this anxious necessity to go get engaged with activity. But I'm going to sit. I'm going to sit through this. I'm going to let it pass through rather than engage with it. And when we let things pass through, we can see them clearer, right? It's hard to think clearly, or it's hard to see clearly when we're wrapped up in thought, right? And what is thought? Thought is just based on content. So prejudices, right? Old content we've received, so on and so forth. So it's a big leap forward, a quantum leap for you, brother, that you're allowed to sit with your emotion, your thoughts, your anxiousness, and not necessarily engage with it so that you can make better decisions, shrug things off easier. Yo, it's your bro Elliot. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, you ought to know that it was a clip from one of my most recent King Transformation classes with my students, where among other things, we get together about 4 or 5 hours a week and we speak on things as it relates to becoming kings in our lives in fitness, business, and with women. If that sounds like you and you want to join a like-minded group of men who are growing stronger every day in every way in this degenerate age, then it's real simple. Just follow me on Instagram and then DM me the word King, K-I-N-G, and then me and my team will get back to the details to see if you qualify. I really hope to see you at the next meeting. Done.